Bonjour, mes amis. Comment ça va? Feeling very European because of the hat. I borrowed it from my editor, Alyssa, and it makes me feel so European. And I can't do a British accent, so I went for some French, because I actually speak French, kind of. But anyway, today we are talking about The Iron King by Julie Kagawa, the first book in the Iron Fae series. So The Iron King is about Megan Chase, who is an ordinary girl. People don't really notice her. She often goes kind of under the radar. She has only one friend, Robbie, and all of this sort of changes when her younger brother Ethan is kidnapped by evil fairies, and she has to go into fairyland to find him. So it's called, the fairyland is called the Never Never, so she goes into the Never Never with her friend Robbie, who turns out to be Robin Goodfellow from A Midsummer Night's Dream, or Puck, they call him Puck. And they go into the Never Never to find her brother. And along the way they meet some really strange creatures and characters, including a sort of ice prince. I keep wanting to call him an ice queen, because that's like a term, but he's a prince. And he is actually of the winter court, and ice is sort of his element, if they had elements. He attacks with ice, and he's got cold skin, and so on and so forth. And they also meet a really snarky cat, a Kate Sith, and they go on this adventure to find her brother Ethan. So there were a lot of things about this book that I really liked and a lot of things that I didn't like. So let's start with the things that I really liked and then we'll move on from there. So things that I liked about this book, I love the characters for a start. The side characters are fantastic. Puck is very loyal and kind of charming and adorable. Loved him. He's the court fool, so he's really fun. And his interactions with Ash, the Ice Prince, are really entertaining. They have this rivalry going on, this very old grudge. They're always fighting. And I thought there was going to be some bromance going on there, so I was really disappointed when Ash turned out to be the main love interest, because I was really hoping for some bromance, but what can you do? And then I also loved Grimalkin, who is the Kate Sith, who they meet on the way. He's very devious and kind of conniving. And then he actually has some really interesting character developments, because he starts off as this conniving, like he only wants things from Megan, he doesn't actually care about her. By the end, he really cares about everybody. And he's, of course though, he tries to keep up this facade of being this conniving little cat, so he would never admit to it, but he's definitely grown as a character. Megan, I was not a huge fan of. She fell a little bit flat for me. Not very interesting, we'll talk about her later. Other things that I liked, I loved the setting. I thought the world building in this book was done very effectively. I would love to go to the Never Never. I think it sounds like a really cool place. It's just like this amazing forest of creatures and plants that are foreign and very magical and amazing. I just think it'd be so cool. I would never live. I would die so fast, you don't even know. I would fall into a lake with a bunch of sirens and they would lure me off to their siren camp and I would become a lesbian fish and bad things would happen from there. It's a very dangerous place, but it's really cool. The world building was done really well. I could follow it. It was really interesting. And then another thing that I really liked about this book was the homage to Shakespeare. I'm actually not a fan of Shakespeare, and I will tell you all why in a later video, I'm sure. But A Midsummer Night's Dream is one of the plays that I do like, and so I really, really liked the homage. There's characters Oberon and Tatiana are in it, Queen Mab is in it. I really enjoyed that there were all these characters that were familiar, and obviously Puck is in it too. So we get that little like allusion to some older literature, which is kind of fun. The other thing about this book that I really, really liked was the theme. There was an overarching theme to this book, and it was sort of like, you know, environment versus technology. And I really think that's a theme that it's very present in books today, but I think it's forgotten about sometimes, because there's a lot of, you know, romance out there, and there's a lot of books out there that don't have that kind of theme going with it. And it wasn't super preachy, which I appreciated, because preachy books just, it doesn't matter if they're preaching something that I like or not, they bore me. Yeah, so I really liked the theme, the environment versus technology, and that was really shown really well in the battle between the fairies, who are being forgotten about slowly over time. The Never Never is shrinking slowly because people have stopped dreaming about fantastical things. They started dreaming about technology and advancements in technology, and so slowly the technology is coming into the Never Never, and the fairies are essentially allergic to iron. I don't want to say, like, I guess it's deadly to them, but it's kind of like an allergy almost. It weakens them when it's around, and if they touch it, it burns their skin. So it was really this interesting element of the iron, so the Iron Fae, obviously, versus the Never Never, which is this giant forest of awesome. Things that I didn't like so much, like I mentioned before, I didn't like Megan. I thought she was really boring. She was kind of a blank slate character, which can work. She's sort of an everyman, so anyone reading it can understand where she's coming from, they can relate to her. I really did like her motivation, that she was in the Never Never to get her brother back. She wasn't there because she wanted something from the fairies. She just wanted her brother back. She just wanted things to be okay again. And I really admire that motivation for her. But I wasn't really a fan of her as a character. I felt like she fell flat. Her relationships with the other characters weren't that interesting. They were mostly interesting on the other character's part, not on hers. So that was a little bit disappointing, but I can live with it. The other thing about this book that I really didn't like was the way the plot was structured. I felt like there were things that sort of didn't really come together in any concrete way. There were a lot of plot threads that never were really, not necessarily not resolved, but they never became important. There were a lot of Chekhov's guns that just were like red herrings. Anyway, yeah, so the plot sort of meanders around and doesn't really get where it's going right away, and that was disappointing for me. It felt like it was a NaNoWriMo novel, and it was written sort of at the seat of her pants, and it was a discovery novel, kind of. And then those loose ends weren't all really woven together, which was kind of too bad, because I think if they were, this would have been a really solid book. So I'm hopeful that the others in the series are a little bit more put together and a little bit structured, a little bit more better. So this book was sort of middle of the road for me. There were enough things that I liked about it for me to read the next one, but there weren't enough things, and there were enough things that I disliked for me to not read the next one. So I'm kind of on the fence. I probably will read the next couple. I've been told to not bother with the last one and to just not read the last chapter of the third one because I'm a huge fan of tragedy and I've heard it's really sad. So I might just leave off there and pretend the other ones don't exist, but we'll see. I would love to hear what you guys think about it. So let me know in the comments below if you liked this book. If you liked the sequels, I would really like to hear about that because I want to know if I should read them. If you didn't like it, I'd also love to hear from you. And I guess if you haven't read it yet, I don't have a recommendation for you. I know it's terrible, but I think this is something that I can't really recommend or not recommend. It's up to you guys to decide whether or not it's something you want to read. So yeah, leave your comments and thoughts. Subscribe, like, dislike, whatever you want to do. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I will see you guys later. Bye! I think I'm Team Pash. Or Ashuk. Pash. I like Pash. I'm Team Pash. Bromance for the win. Yeah.